Hey, hello everyone and welcome back to Paranormal Time. Today's video is all about the paranormal. Whether you are a believer or skeptic, there is no denying that the idea of ghost spirits and other supernatural entities has captivated people for centuries. In this video, we'll be searching some of the most compelling evidence for paranormal activity, sharing some of the most chilling stories of ghostly encounters, and discussing some of the most popular theories about what lies beyond the realm of understanding. So turn off the light, grab a blanket and get ready to explore the mysterious and often terrifying world of the paranormal time. Let's get started. Today I'm going to tell Annabelle, a haunted doll story. First, an apology if you see any mistake. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Lily who loved dolls. She had a collection of over 20 dolls, each one carefully chosen and loved. But there was a one doll that stood out from the rest of porcelain doll with curly blonde hair and bright blue eyes. Lily named her Annabelle and she quickly became her favorite. One day Lily and her family moved into a new house in a small town. It was an old Victorian mansion with creaky floors and dusty rooms. Lily was excited to explore her new room, but there was something strange about the attic. It was locked and no one had the key all night. Lily heard a strange noise coming from the attic. It sounded like something was scratching at the door. She crept up to investigate and found the key lying on the floor. She picked it up and locked the door. To her surprise, there was a room filled with dolls of all shapes and sizes. And in the corner sat a dusty old trunk. She opened it and saw a doll that looked exactly like Annabelle. But as she picked up the doll, she felt a chill run down her spine. Something was not right. The doll's eyes seemed to follow her and its porcelain skin was icy to the touch. Suddenly, the room began to spin and Lily felt herself being pulled into the darkness. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer in the attic. She was in a dark forest with no sign of her family or her home. The only thing she had with her was Annabelle, the porcelain doll. She felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized that the doll was the only thing that had made the journey with her. Lily began to walk through the forest, searching for any signs of civilization, but as she walked, she felt like she was being watched. Every time she turned around, there was nothing there, but she knew she was not alone. As night fell, Lily stumbled upon an old cabin in the woods. It was dark and abandoned, but it was better than nothing. She went inside and tried to make herself comfortable, but as she settled in front of the night, she realized that Annabelle was gone. Lily searched the cabin from top to bottom, but there was no sign of the porcelain doll. She began to panic. Annabelle had always been her protector, and now she was alone in the dark. That's when she heard the sound of footsteps outside. She peered through the window and saw a figure approaching. It was a man, dressed in old-fashioned clothing. With a pale face and dark eyes, he came closer and closer until he was standing right outside the cabin. Lily tried to hide, but it was too late. The man had seen her. He began to bang on the door, demanding that she let him in. But Lily knew better than trust a stranger in the dark. Suddenly, she heard a sound from behind her. It was Annabelle, the porcelain doll. Lily felt wave a relief wash over her as she held the doll close. But as she turned around, she realized that Annabelle was not alone. The other dolls from the attic had come with her. Lily watched in horror as the dolls began to move. Their porcelain face twisted, the mannequin grinned. They surrounded her, their glassy eyes staring into her soul. And then they attacked. Lily fought with all her might, but the dolls were too much strong. They overpowered her and dragged her to the darkness. She never saw her family again, and no one ever found her body. Years later, a new family moved into the old Victorian mansion. They found Lily's collection of dolls, but there was one that stood out from the rest. It was a dark and stormy night in the small town in Midfield. A young girl named Emily was walking home from her friend's house, taking a long way home to avoid the creepy old cemetery. As she walked, she noticed something in the bush. in the bushes. It was a doll, a beautiful porcelain doll with curly blondie hair, bright blue eyes. Emily picked up the doll and examined it. It was in perfect condition, with not a scratch or mark on it. She thought it must have been dropped by a little girl in the neighborhood. So she decided to take it home with her and try to find its owner. As Emily continued walking, she noticed that the doll seemed to be looking at her. Its eyes followed her every move. She tried to shake the feeling of the keep walking, but as she walked, she heard strange noises coming from the doll. It sounds like the doll was whispering to her. Emily was scared, but she didn't want to throw away the doll without finding its owner. She finally arrived home and placed the doll on her bed. She went to bed, hoping to forget about the strange events of the night. But as Emily slept, the doll began to move on its own. It got up and walked around her room, whispering strange things to her. Emily was too scared to wake up, too scared to move. She felt like she was being watched by something else. The next day, Emily woke up feeling uneasy. She went to check on the doll, but it was nowhere to be found. She searched her room, but it was gone. Emily knew something was wrong. She had a feeling that the doll was watching her, waiting for her to let her guard down. Days went by. Strange things continued to happen in Emily's house. Objects would move on their own doors. Objects would move on their own doors would open and close, and she would hear strange whispers in the middle of the night. Emily knew that she had to do something about the doll. She decided to go to the local library to do some research. She found an old book about haunted dolls and read about their dark story. According to the book, some dolls were possessed by evil spirits and could bring harm to their owners. Emily realized that the doll she found might be one of these haunted dolls. She decided to take action and rid her house of the doll. She called a priest to perform an exorcism, but when he arrived, he was too scared to enter the house. Emily knew that she was on her own. She had to face the doll herself. She went back to her room, where the doll was waiting for her. The doll eyes were glowing and it had an evil smile on its face. Emily knew that she had to act quickly. She grabbed the doll and ran outside, away from her house. As she ran, she could hear the doll whispering to her, promising her that she would never escape its grasp. Emily knew that she had to destroy the doll once and for all. She ran to the edge of the town and found a small bridge over a river. She held the doll in her hands and looked down at the water. She took a deep breath and threw the doll over the edge. As it fell into the water, Emily heard a piercing scream. She ran back to her house happily, hoping that she had finally rid herself of the haunted doll. But as she entered her house, she could feel that something was still wrong. The doll was still with her, still whispering to her, haunting her. Emily realized that she would never be free of the doll's evil grasp. She knew that it would be haunt for the rest of her life, that it would never let her go. She was trapped forever, held captive by the haunted doll. So today's episode is here. We hope you enjoyed this video and that it has left you with some new insights and perspective on this intriguing topic. As always, thank you for watching and we will see you in the next one. Until then, stay healthy, stay tuned. See you in the next episode. Good night.